It's Buck vs. Dolphins week, so I bring in Brent Allen for the special occasion. All that and more coming up right now on this episode of the RTJ, Rens Training Camp Journal.
Well, you made me weep, and you made me moan. Well, you caused me to leave, child, my happy home. But someday, baby, you ain't worry my life anymore.
The Dolphins are in town, but not only them. Brent Allen's here.
What's up, everybody?
There he is. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Let me not set my microphone down on my lap right before you start talking.
Right before I look at you?
Right.
And say go? The Buccaneers had a couple of boring practices, and then we have the
Is that why we haven't gotten an RTJ in the last couple of days?
Yeah, there's nothing you can say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ronald Jones still looks good. Vernon still looks
Yeah.
good. Yep.
Yeah, this is that discussion we have about this time every year, Ren.
Yeah.
Where we go, we're going to be at training camp every day, and we're going to have an update every day, and you get 2 weeks or a week and a half into it, and you're like, I can't record because it's literally the same thing we've been saying
I've seen
all week long.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
But I have some notes that I've scribbled down
Yeah.
for those two practices. We're going to go over that.
Mhm.
And then, of course, you came down for training camp, and you will be there again with me tomorrow. You and it looks like you brought everyone from Miami with you.
Yes, by way of Jacksonville. I shot down to, I shot down to Miami to send them on their way, and then drove back to Jacksonville, actually, as it were, which is why I was a little bit late getting there today.
It has not been the stars have not aligned for you. This training camp.
No, not like they have for BA for sure.
I don't get that.
Well, he always talking about the reason he came back because the stars aligned.
Oh, okay.
They have not aligned for me. No, it's of the 6 days of camp that we were supposed to have credentials for. I will have made it to 1.5.
Yes.
By the time this is all said and done.
Hopefully.
But that's okay.
Something still might happen tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see. we'll see what happens. Who knows? But but thankfully you've actually been able to be there, so we have been represented.
Oh yeah.
Very, very well, and Ren, you've done a great job here with the Training Camp Journal.
Thank you.
And it's at that spot. I feel camped, complete. Like
camped out.
Yeah. Like
you ready? You ready to go home?
I just got here actually.
Ready to go home, see mom from sleep. You miss her from sleep.
I think like everybody else, like, hey, so excited for the preseason, so excited. No, just skip the preseason. Let's get to game one. Let's get on with the season and let's go.
I find it, and I've found this to be true the last couple of years. As soon as that first preseason game is played,
yeah,
it's like, okay, I'm ready for training camp to be over.
Right.
It's like the only thing left is the last 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 tops positions. If you've been there enough and you've paid enough attention. You know who's making the team. You know who's not.
Right.
So,
but those are also the same positions that are going to be the first ones to be turned over as other players become available, or which once again, and I get on this soapbox every single year. People start referring to this as the final 53.
Don't do that around Brent.
It is not the final 53.
It's
the initial. It's the first 53 because it will go through many iterations over the course of the year. There's nothing final about this 53.
Yeah. Well, since we're back together, and
I do like the alliteration of the idea, though. The final 53. I like that, but it just doesn't work in this case.
Okay. Would you like to talk about it some more? You got it out of your system?
Well, no, because the final 50. Okay, yeah, I'm done.
All right.
I'm done.
Well, since you are much better at being the host and driving the show than I am, I'm handing the reins over to you this time willfully. And so, let's get at it. You made some notes and you very graciously kind of handed them to me. And I know that you've said that it's been a boring past couple of days, but stuff has happened. Just the first 2 days after after the Steelers game.
Right.
And the reason was, one, practice was cut an hour short on purpose. But the reason is, like, they were just in, I call them the 3 S's. It's a little more than shorts and shells because they're wearing shoulder pads.
Right.
So it's short shoulder pads and shells.
Oh, okay.
3 or S squared.
Because when I think of 3 S's, I think of shit, shower, and shave.
Yeah, well,
yes.
The football.
Okay.
The training camp.
The other one. The other one.
S cubed.
Okay, so back me up because I'm actually not familiar with this. We record this. This is Tuesday.
Is it?
Is my day right?
I don't know.
Is today Tuesday? I think
no
it
idea.
Is. The Steelers game was played on Friday.
Correct.
Did we have a practice on Saturday?
No.
Okay. Do we have a practice on Sunday?
Yes.
Did we have a practice on Monday?
Yes.
Okay, so we're just talking about Sunday and Monday's practice. I guess Saturday was come home and recover day?
Probably.
For the team? Okay. And that makes sense. So really we're just talking about Sunday, Monday, and then today, actually, I guess, a little bit as well.
Yeah, we'll get into today. And we have other stuff. Rondé Barber.
Yeah, which was cool. I didn't know that was happening. Rondé Barber had his Ring of Honor induction press conference today, and I happened to be here for that, so that was cool.
Yeah. Warren Sapp sat in my media chair.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And I got to sit near Warren Sapp in the press conferences today.
There you go.
So
there you go. So we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, a lot to talk about. But so let's back up. I've got some notes here, and I'm interested just to find out what you mean by these things.
What those scribbles mean?
Yes. And the first one you have is
the man that kills me will know.
You have episode 8. Blah.
Yeah. That would be Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
No, and I was a little shocked about how it was probably the least energetic, the least amount of juice or vibe or energy the team had was that Sunday. Oh, yeah. That first practice back from the Steelers game.
Right.
It could have been a little bit to do with the crowd. I'm not blaming the crowd. I'm just saying that it was just an overall feel where, maybe it was just such a build-up to that first game because you had 2 weeks of practice and all this speculation. Who's going to do what and this and that. And then, you've seen it as fans or you see it as players and coaches, and there's things that happen that you're like, okay, good. I expected that to happen. But there were things that happened. I was like, oh, my God, like, I did not want that to happen. I didn't expect that to happen. Now I'm a little worried. So it was just maybe like that sort of energy.
Was it a light crowd? Like not a whole lot of people were there, or was it just
the crowds have all been about the same?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just sort of. They weren't in full pads, obviously. We've talked about that, and they didn't do a lot of 11-on-11s. I find when some practice they always start with special teams.
Sure.
And it's like a solid 15, 20, 30-minute special teams every day. So if you don't start to get into the 7-on-7s or 11-on-11s until about an hour 15 minutes into practice, people are kind of doing other stuff.
Right.
Looking on their phone, getting something to eat, getting water, talking to the person next to them.
Because Sunday also though was a crew member day, but it was like the fancy seats. The club suites and the suites and the club seats and the Hall of Fame and all those guys. And it just did. You talk about low energy, and I just think, well, yeah, but that's that group of people. I mean, if you've ever been in a club section, like it's not you're not getting the face painters in this section. You're not getting the chest thumpers. Like these are the old people who've been around for a while. They've got a little bit of money. Younger, sit down there and be quiet and let's just watch this game. And then when it gets too hot, they go inside, and so all the seats look empty.
Yes.
Like that's this crowd on Sunday.
Yes. I don't want to say that, not all of them, but in general, that's probably correct. But I don't think, like I said, I don't think really the crowd really had anything to do with the practice because I noticed it from the team sort of from the beginning.
Yeah. And
then they had a real short practice, like they cut it by an hour and a half. It was.
Oh wow.
No. It was supposed to be an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And they cut it by an hour, and then the practice itself only ran about 50 minutes.
Wow.
And that was Monday.
That was Mondays.
That was Monday. So it was basically, it was kind of like, all right. It was just,
Yeah.
It was like watching a 3/4 speed walkthrough.
Right. Well, hopefully now that the Dolphins are in town.
We did. Oh, it got cranked up today.
Yeah. So, but let's back up. You've got a couple of notes here because I'm sure our listeners out there don't really give a flying rip about the crowd itself.
No.
that was out there or what type of people.
There was 4,288 people.
Yeah, there you go.
45% of them are women.
You've got 4 names written down here.
Okay.
And so let's run through do you want to just run through them all together, or you want to take them one by one?
Let's do one by one.
Okay. The first name you got written down here is
those 4 names?
Yeah.
Go through all 4.
Okay. You've got Rojo, Hudson, VH3, and Davis.
Right. All having great camps.
Okay. Next. So these are like your camp stars right now.
Those were the guys that once again caught my eye, even in those, blasé practices. Mm-hmm. And not that they weren't getting necessary work in, it was just blasé from fans' point watching the practice. Those are guys who continue to shine for me day in, day out.
All right, I got a question for you. Sure. In the Steelers game, there was a player that did more than just flash. Like he kind of made an argument for himself.
Sure.
Schnell, I forget his full name.
Mm-hmm.
The Schnell, whatever his name is. Has he been a guy who stood out for you at all during practice? Because he really sort of seemed to come out of nowhere in the game.
I always noticed him, but the thing with Schnell for me is that he's almost a Scotty Miller clone.
Okay.
Except he's just not as fast.
Not as good as Scotty.
Yeah.
He's a Scotty Miller clone, but not as good.
Yeah.
It's like he's a copy that
he's
got a little faded.
He's more of an Adam Humphries than he is a Scotty Miller.
Oh, so what he is he's a copy of a copy.
Right.
Because Scotty Miller's kind of that copy of Adam Humphries.
Right, with bad toner.
Right.
Clumped up toner.
Gotcha. Sorry, Schnell.
No, he's fine. I mean,
you
throw him the ball, he'll catch it,
sure.
and he'll get open, but I don't even remember all the plays he did in the Steelers game, and he was going up against, obviously their 4s by that time. But he's not a guy that gets a lot of separation. But he throws the ball, he catches it, and he does his job. It's kind of like how Adam Humphries caught on, 3, 4, 5 years ago with the Buccaneers. But the problem is their wide receiver room is just way too much competitive. There's just too much competition, too much talent in there now. So. He's sort of in that same group where you put together, if you take smaller, fast guys, okay, we'll put together your small guys that can catch, okay? You got Scotty Miller, you got Schnell, and you got, like, Bobo Wilson, okay? Now you put together your fast guys. You got Scotty Miller, Perryman, and Bobo Wilson, okay? Now when you talk about, say we're going to keep 5 receivers. Okay. Let's push it to 6. The first 4 are set in stone. Perryman, Watson, Godwin. Who's the other guy?
Mike Evans?
Yeah.
That guy?
Yeah. Okay.
Really? Is Watson really set in stone, you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just is. So if there's
he's got like draft pick status protection, but may not necessarily. That's not a set in stone thing either.
He wasn't a guy that flashed a lot. They threw a little bit to him in camp, and it's kind of like one of those things. Remember, Dirk Cutter said one time when everyone was talking about like J.J. Wilcox, like he's having pass breakups, and Cutter goes, "Well, sometimes the ball just finds you in practice," and it wasn't finding Justin Watson a lot.
Right.
But as soon as that depth chart came out, like the ball started finding him a lot more.
Right.
And even today in the Miami, consistently getting open, being where he's supposed to be, catches the ball, and Justin Watson's like legit fast.
Yeah.
He really is. I should have put him in that fast category. But he's also, he's also legit big, and he's also legit athletic. So, and then
and he's a really nice guy.
Sure.
I've gotten to meet him. He genuinely is a nice guy.
Okay.
That's all I can add to that conversation.
All right. So now we're getting till we get down to the fifth and sixth wide receiver spot. Well, there's guys there that you can put in there, and I haven't even talked about DeMarcus Lodge, who I like, and I haven't even talked about the kid from Buffalo, Johnson, who I like. And so if you're going to put Scotty Miller in there, which I think he is going to make the team because he is quick and he's fast. He just gets the most separation on the deep routes, and
he's also a draft pick.
Yeah. And so that's even if you go to 6 wide receivers, that leaves one spot.
Yeah.
So are you going to take somebody that's like big and athletic, like a Lodge or a Johnson, or are you going to take somebody who's Scotty Miller, but the best part of Scotty Miller, he's not?
Right. Well, you're already in this vein, so let's go ahead and knock this one out. You have a note in here where you talk about wide receivers. You say BA says only 5.
Yeah, and that's why I talked about we're going to keep 5 or 6, and that was it could have been a slip of the tongue, and it does come down to a numbers game. But I just found it interesting that after Mitchell, wide receiver, blew out his knee in the Steelers game, I can't remember if it was the next practice we had or was it after the game, the post-game press conference. Someone, said, tough break Scotty Mitchell, or not Scotty Mitchell, Mitchell. I don't really remember his first name now. Tough break for him. He's done. And BA's like, yeah, it is a tough break. He was fighting for that 5th spot.
Yeah.
Which means, at least subconsciously, like he's sort of, set on 5 wide receivers in a perfect world. Mm-hmm. So if we think the 4 are the 4, that's a big glob of like 4 or 5 guys that all have
fighting for one spot.
Spot.
And that's a deep spot. Now I'll tell you how I interpreted that because I heard that same thing. And I've been getting this question a lot from different people on Twitter and Facebook and even a few emails of, well, how many of name a position do you think we're going to keep?
Yeah.
And that's a question we talk about on this show when we start predicting the roster and, what's it come down to. And what I've kind of come to believe and think is going to happen, or the way they're going to look at it, is you're going to have a certain amount of players in each position that are actually going to play.
Yeah.
Like take the running back position, for example. They may keep 4. You're really only looking at 3 who are legitimately going to play. Like that 4th one may get in there every once in a while, but the game plan is only for 3. Yeah. Maybe really even only for 2, right? So take the wide receiver position. Like BA in his mind may have, these are my 5 wide receivers.
Right.
And so you do that across the board, and now you're talking about 45 spots on the team.
Yep.
Well, we've got 53. So those last 8 could be anywhere, and it just depends on special teams play.
How good of a special teams player you are.
So, you may have somebody who is a wide receiver who's not going to be a wide receiver on this team.
Right.
They're there for
whoever that 5th/6th wide receiver person is, especially if we go 6.
Sure.
May not catch a ball all year.
Exactly.
But they will play close to 150, 200 plays.
Right.
Because it's all going to be on punt coverage, kickoff coverage, kick return, things like that. Not necessarily field goal with that position.
Right.
But like someone like, if they go 4 tight ends like Tanner Hudson.
Right.
He might get 250 plays.
Right.
Because he will be on field goal protection and, things like that.
Right. So when we start having those conversations of, well, how many of each position are we going to keep? We've done this long enough now as a podcast, and we've done this enough years that I'm kind of going, I think that's the wrong question to ask.
Yeah.
Who are you keeping as a wide receiver, and who are you keeping as a cornerback? Who are you keeping as XYZ? Okay, now how many positions do you have left?
No.
Who's the next best group of people to fit in due to special teams? And whatever position, quote unquote, they play, that doesn't matter.
It doesn't. No.
But at the end of the time, you may wind up with 6 wide receivers and 7 cornerbacks or whatever, however you count Dayon Buchanan.
Yeah, whatever position.
Exactly. Yeah. How are you going to count a fullback tight end position? So, okay, so that was you had those guys in talking about the wide receivers, but you say Rojo's had a good camp. Hudson, you've been real high on Hudson this whole camp, or at least I've keyed into you talking about him quite a bit.
Yeah, it was just somebody that just reminded me of when you get there and after the first few days and all these storylines start to. Everyone's talked about. Like, Rojo was a huge storyline. Of course, Devin White was a storyline. Jameis Winston, huge storyline. Mm-hmm. There hasn't been a lot of talk about Mike Evans or Chris Godwin because we know what we got in those guys.
Right.
So then you start to look for these diamonds in the rough. And Tanner Hudson was just one guy that just kind of like every time I looked up, they were throwing him the ball, and it didn't matter if he was wide open or if somebody was draped all over him. He just always caught the ball.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. All right, this is a guy who's making the team keep him.
Right. And it's interesting you say this because while I have heard other people covering the Buccaneers in training camp this year mention Tanner Hudson, nobody's been on it kind of quite like you do. And we were talking earlier today.
I was on first.
Yeah. He was first, everybody. We were first.
I was first.
But we were talking with Scott Reynolds, a Pewter Report, and he was even commenting like one of the great things about the media core and the media scrum, and including us in that conversation, is everybody sees something from a different angle.
Oh yeah.
And there's so much going on, particularly in this camp.
Mm-hmm.
One person can't see it all. So you've got to you have to depend on what Almond is saying and Stroud is saying and we're saying and our friend David Harrison from Locked On Bucks, he's there getting a new view, or Evan Winter, who was there from SB Nation earlier this year, and just the various people. Like, everybody's got a different view, and
that's something I learned like 2 years ago. Yeah. Is like I could watch a practice, and I'll stick with Scott Reynolds because that was sort of what happened was the person I'm talking about, and he would watch the practice, and I'd walk away saying, "Hey, Anthony Auclair had a good practice," and then I would hear Scott Reynolds, like write something or say something that Anthony Auclair had a bad practice. And it's all about when you're looking at that person because they're moving so much in and out. And
I'm not gonna regress and tread over, but we've actually even seen that in this camp.
Yeah.
In this year, people are saying, "Oh, this person was bad," and then other people are going, "Man, even we, like in the instant cast, are going, man, I really wasn't super high on this person or this group or that defense." But then other people are like, no, actually, they've been really good. But let's move on. You mentioned Rojo we have covered to death. I don't feel like we got to run into that. But you do quickly mention DeGraves. DeGraves. Carlton Davis and Vernon Hargreaves together. I know we've talked about them quite a bit, but right now I'm mostly interested in Carlton Davis. I've heard a lot of Vernon Hargreaves. I've seen a lot of the videos. I've seen him with my own eyes a little bit. He's looking great. We can just all say that. But what about Carlton Davis? Because he's a guy that I haven't seen a whole lot of.
Yeah, he's just a guy who's always in position. And unlike Ryan Smith, who was always in position, he's making the plays. He's making the pass breakups. It's becoming sort of like must-watch TV when Carlton Davis and Mike Evans get paired up on each other.
Oh, yeah?
During a play.
I'll keep an eye out for that tomorrow.
That's, well, you're not going to see it because they're playing the Dolphins.
But, well, dang. Dang.
But that has been really fun to watch, like those two guys go at it. And
we'll just watch it during regular season practice.
Sure.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Can't do it. Even if we had credentials, still can't do it. Still can't do it. Just peek out the windows.
Right.
But so it's just he's just been sticky. Like I've said it a few times. They're just winning different ways.
Mm-hmm. Has he been getting like any interceptions? Because I know that was a thing. Like he didn't catch a single interception last year. Right. Vernon Hargreaves has had several interceptions in camp so far this year. Mm-hmm. Has Carlton had any really that stand out to you?
Remember.
Yeah.
But that's in one of the kind of falls in the category where they're winning different ways.
Right.
But if you count all of Vernon's interceptions and ones that should have been interceptions and his pass breakups, and then count Carlton's pass breakups, the numbers are probably within one or two of each other.
Wow.
Like that's how many hands, that's how many balls he's getting hands on. Mm-hmm. It's just not, he's just not pulling them in.
Because there have been plays where I've seen Vernon also gets burned. Like whatever wide receiver he's going against.
Everyone's going to get burned.
Sure. Yeah. Like it just, he's not shutting down. And if he was shutting down the wide receivers every single play, then that means our wide receivers ain't doing anything.
Yeah. And if, you go up against wide receivers of Godwin's and Evans' caliber, because it always starts out ones against the ones. And as the drills get longer, Vernon ends up getting up there against, people like, Bobo and Simpson and the Schnells and does what he's doing against the ones. But yeah, if that's what's the most, I guess, why I'm talking about it so much, because we know how good the wide receivers are.
Right.
So if the wide receivers are that good and those two cornerbacks are sticking with them and keeping pace, then that's what makes it exciting.
So talking about Vernon, you were saying something earlier about this whole inside-outside thing that you've noticed with Vernon that I think is really telling. Tell us about that a little bit.
This is something I've noticed. Now, this could be absolutely nothing, or this could be something that sort of, might be a story thread that goes throughout the season.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this is one of those things. If you notice this, when other teams start picking up on tape, they're going to notice it.
No, I think it's just me.
You think it's just you?
Okay. I just have that inner eye
So what you're saying is the Buccaneers need to hire you to scout all the other teams.
No.
And watch. No.
No.
No. Just for our guys.
No.
All right, tell us about it. What is
I'm just saying, when I watch practice, okay, Vernon, good, great, and it's all true. He has been superb and off the charts, like straight nails, when he's got the receiver between himself and the sidelines.
Okay.
Like it's about probably a 90% chance the ball's not going to be completed, and I'm not exaggerating that. It might even be a little higher. Now
that's when you have Vernon, you have sideline, wide receivers in between.
Right.
Okay.
And that can be like, and it doesn't have to be 2 yards. Mm-hmm. Like they can be on the numbers.
Okay.
Sure. And as long as the receiver's between him and the sidelines, it's like I said, he's nails. But when it goes sidelines Vernon, wide receiver, that's when he's having problems. I don't know what it is, and I don't, and like I said, it could be absolutely nothing. It could be just like you said, there's so many things moving and people going in and out all the time, and it just might be the times every time I look at that, that's just the way it happens to be.
Right.
There could have been a few times that I missed it.
Right. Is it one of those situations where like both Vernon and the receiver are fighting for that inside spot, and Vernon just got beat? Or, like, does it seem like it's more, this is the way this particular play was designed, and Vernon steps to the outside to track down with him?
I think it's when they're in breaking routes, like posts or crosses, not like a dig where they stop and turn, because he's there for that. But when they put their foot in the ground and start to try to accelerate away from him, they're having success.
Gotcha.
But if he's got the sideline as a barrier, then they don't really have anywhere to. There's not a lot of room to get a lot of separation.
Right.
So where they have 10, 15 plus yards to sort of separate or extend, he's just not as good. Which makes sense now that I kind of thought about it that way, but I just sort of break it down as if Vernon's got the receiver between him and the sidelines, he's nails, and if it's the other way around, he's just not as good.
Right. I wonder if, and this just goes back to me.
But Davis is good both ways.
Oh, is he? Because that was going to be my next question. Like, is it just, hey, whoever's on the inside naturally gets the advantage?
Right.
Like, that's just part of the game. Get to be the inside guy.
Right.
whether you're the receiver or the cornerback, like, just be that guy.
Yeah, but when people do crosses and things against Davis, he's there.
He can still come in. Yeah.
Yeah, and won't intercept it though.
Right. Talk to me about the edge defense. What's this all about?
Yeah, this is something that these are the two things that I saw, and this has sort of been more of a combination of all the practices, and this is starting to worry me. And now I haven't figured out it's because our outside run game has been so poor the past few years, or this is a sort of weak point in the chain of a Todd Bowles defense. But getting the ball to the outside to the running back, either like a screen pass or just a plain toss sweep or a handoff, and he gets it. The Buccaneers offense is getting that edge way more than I feel comfortable with. And when they get the edge and the running back actually turns the corner, there's not a lot there to stop him. It's either the Buck, they hold the edge and they get stopped, and it's like somewhere between a -2 to a 3-yard gain. But if the running back can plant his foot in the ground and square his shoulders at the goal line, it's first down plus, and it's happening like way more than I'm comfortable with. So that's just something to watch, and I'm definitely going to be watching it. That, especially with BA coming out and saying that Noah Spence needs to be better against the run. I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, well, that's what he's talking about. Like Spence has to be able to set that edge and turn the running back inside sooner or quicker, so the flow of the linebackers can get to him, instead of getting around Noah Spence and then, like I said, getting their shoulders square and it's first down, touchdown.
All right, so I want to ask you about these guys. You're talking about Noah Spence. We just finished talking about Vernon Hargreaves, Carlton Davis, these guys. I was having this conversation with somebody earlier today. and I don't know if you and I have ever briefly approached this, but when you look at the difference between a Todd Bowles defense and a Mike Smith defense, and you look at the draft picks that Jason Light has made over the last 5 years as GM here in Tampa, all right? You look at Vernon and you goes, well, he's a press corner, but Mike Smith had him playing off the ball, even though Mike Smith said that he lets the defenders choose whatever. And Vernon's more comfortable, so now he looks great. And Noah Spence he disappeared and just went belly up in the Mike Smith thing, but now he's had this resurgence under Todd Bowles, and there's just all this hype about this Todd Bowles defense.
Yeah.
I just want to posit this as a question to you.
Sure.
You probably think I'm thinking an idiot, but
no, I think I know where you're going to go with it.
Has Jason Light been drafting
for a 3-4 defense
for a Todd Bowles defense? Kind of screw Mike Smith, screw whatever the coaching staff wants, and maybe not even screw it. He just in whatever the way they do that. Instead of drafting all these guys that Mike Smith wants, he's drafting players that actually fit this system,
right?
Almost in preparation to get this. It just took a long time to get here.
So when we finally switched to a 3-4 defense,
right? This will be the players you want.
I guess the longest way you could think it out is that, okay, we want to keep Cutter and Winston together because of their, the numbers. Right. Not success, but the numbers that Winston...
Well, they had a great relationship, didn't they, Ren?
Well, I'm not... Their numbers, for a rookie quarterback, they were good numbers. At least the positive numbers.
Listen,
they also had a lot of turnovers.
We have documented, though, on this show many times that the last 3 years in Tampa, and yes, there have been issues, particularly with turnovers and different things like that, but overall, the problem has not been the offense.
Yeah, right.
The problem has been the defense.
Right. But I'm trying to figure out how, because if you say it okay, you know what's been happening? Jason Light's actually been drafting for a 3-4 for all these years, just waiting for a 3-4 defense. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But I would like to try to connect the dots and make sense of it. This is the only way I can figure it out that maybe this is how this happened. Okay? So Cutter's getting offers for head coaching jobs, right?
Right.
Well, they want to keep him and Jameis together because of the success number-wise that they had. So they give Cutter...
And they know they're getting rid of Lovey.
Lovey's gone.
Yeah.
Lovey's gone. So they're keeping Cutter, and Cutter won't sign unless he gets to decide to take his own... He gets to pick his coaching staff.
Right.
That's all I want. You take care of the roster, I take care of the staff. All right?
And every head coach gets to pick their coaching staff.
Yeah. Well, not everybody.
Well,
Gruden didn't.
Fair.
Okay.
All right.
So they don't have a... so now they're stuck with Mike Smith, okay? So Jason Light thinks, well, if Mike Smith is just this defensive genius and 2-time coach of the year... if I draft 3-4 guys, he'll figure it out and switch to a 3-4 system. Because that's what I want to do. Because that's the way I think you can only win in the NFL. The way it is now with the fun and gun, spread them out, space and pace type of offenses that are ruling the NFL right now. And hopefully he'll come to light, and that's what will happen. And it didn't happen. And so now he's fired, and now we have a 3-4 defense. I mean, that sounds really stupid in a stretch, but that's the only way I can kind of think that that's true. Or the disconnect was so big. I mean, could it actually be where, Jason Light goes, hey, our organization wants to run a 3-4. That's what the organization, #me, thinks the way to win, so I'm drafting guys for a 3-4. And Mike Smith goes, draft whoever you want. I'm running a 4-3. I mean, was it that bad?
Right. I mean, because ostensibly, head coach and GM are together in these decisions, and head coach is going to take, the word of his coaching staff and his
him and Mike Smith are best friends.
Right.
I mean, they're best friends.
Right.
He was like, I never thought I'd have to fire this guy.
But
look, here we are.
Was Mike Smith just so arrogant that he's like, well, draft who you want. They'll fit in my system. I can coach them.
Yeah. I think the answer is none of that's true.
Yeah.
It's just the way it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
after, Vernon, there's also Carlton. There's example after example of these guys that are Yeah, they're
they would have been better as a stand-up outside linebacker, or they would have been better as a
press corner,
and they would have been better as
I kept saying 3-4-3-4, and you said Todd Bowles is what I should have said.
Sure.
Is Todd Bowles, because if you're a press man corner, you can play that in 3-4-4-3, like whatever you want to call, whatever kind of defense you're running, you can play press corner. I guess the one that was sort of head scratching was Noah Spence, but then Noah Spence did put his hand in the ground for his rookie year and get
and he did well,
5.5, 6.5 sacks with his shoulder and a sling.
Yeah.
So
and in training camp the next year, he was declared as the guy who was going to get the double-digit sack thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I say no, but it is it's sort of fun to think about, I guess. But if that ever came out to be true, I'm not sure how I would take it as a fan. Like, would I be angry because basically the GM just threw away 2-3 years of the organization, not knowing they weren't going to win because the players he was drafting weren't going to fit the system?
Right. But we had a coach, and I don't mean to retry this, actually I do. We had a coach who said we're going to build the system to fit the player, not the player to fit the system. And, it's what we watched Lovie Smith do. It's what we watched Greg Schiano do. You have your system and you're married to your system, and anyway. And in the end, we might be watching Todd Bowles and those guys do it too. They have their system, and they're going to get their guys. Speaking of their guys, Deion Buchanan, you have a note of him. I guess he flashed for you, made a play.
Wrong.
No?
Wrong.
Didn't make a play.
That's
Dean. This is Dean.
Go.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
I read that wrong.
Yes.
Jamal Dean, he's back?
Well, he's back. Because
he was out.
Yeah,
he didn't. I don't think he even made the trip to Pittsburgh.
No, but he did come back to the very first practice.
Okay. Cool.
And he had a pass breakup.
Whoa.
I know.
Oh, awesome.
This guy has been invisible to me, like whole entire camp. And I go to camp trying to watch him.
Right.
Because I'd realized, it's been 3, 4, 5 days of practice, and I haven't seen this guy, every time I see him, oh, there he is, he's standing on the sidelines.
Right.
So
Right.
I haven't got to look at him a lot. And lo and behold, you know what?
There he is.
There was a pass. Guy, reached in, broke up the play. Whistle blows. Everyone sort of stands up and starts, giving each other a high five. And it's Jamal Dean.
Wow.
Made a play. He's on the team. I can officially say that he's on the team.
But hasn't he been generally, touted as, potentially one of our starting guys?
Not by me or anybody that I respect.
Really? Okay. I feel like we've heard.
Have you been on Facebook again, Brett?
A little bit, yeah. No, but seriously, I feel like he was
at the
kind of
very,
generally thought
very
of in
beginning of
positive
camp.
light. Was it then?
OTAs.
Okay.
And
See, no, this is the
don't be
difference.
surprised if these two corners come in and take Davis's and Vernon's job.
Right. Okay, now remind me, Jamal Dean is a corner, not a safety? I was thinking he was a safety.
No. Edwards is a safety.
Right, and he got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he is going to. He will be. He is going to take someone's starting job.
Yes. All right, so you have that. All right, you've got one note on here that I don't like, so I'm going to save that till the very end.
Okay.
You have a note here about Dixon was coaching with a play sheet.
Yeah,
Dakota Dixon,
undrafted free agent out of Wisconsin. It was a guy that actually made the team on a tryout day. They bring in 30, 40 rookies and undrafted free agents and guys that have been in the league or have been out of the draft for 1 or 2 years, or they bring him in, they try him out, and this was a guy that they liked and they signed, and lo and behold, the first depth chart comes out and he's in the second string of the safeties, and it's whoa, all right, and then the very next practice he blows his shoulder out and they throw him on IR. But instead of just leaving the complex and sort of doing his rehab away and taking his injury paycheck, he's there every day, and I just noticed that he's really into it. He has the practice sheet with him, and it has all the breakdowns. Okay, for 15 minutes we're doing this drill, the next 10 minutes we're doing this, and and he's into it and he's watching. And I've actually seen him talk to other safeties coming off the field and asking, and it looks like he's coaching. I'm not sure if he's asking, what were you thinking there, or saying, hey, this is what I saw, maybe you should try this. But, there has been an article recently, I want to say Greg Allman from The Athletic put it out there, talking about, what a really great kid this guy is. And if you've sort of read the article and know anything about him, this type of behavior that you're seeing from him shouldn't surprise you. So I think, like Kenny Bell did when he hurt himself and had sort of had that red shirt year where he went to all the meetings, was always in the building, traveled with the teams to away games, did everything he could to be ready to go, when he finally did come back from injury. I think Dakota Dixon's going to do the same thing.
But will Dakota Dixon be scared to hit?
No, Dakota Dixon will not be scared to hit. So, but I think it's another, if you're looking at Whitehead, Evans, Edwards, and Dixon, I mean that's I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
If the next couple of years, like those are our guys.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you've got one other observation from camp over the last couple of days. And you have I don't like what this one reads. So please tell me that this is like reverse psychology or something, Ren.
Okay.
You say Winston to Howard is not great.
Nope, that's not reverse psychology. It's not terrible. Okay, it's not Winston to Jackson. So let's not overreact. But out of
Deshaun, not Vincent.
Yeah. We'll say out of the three probably most productive weapons through the passing game this year are going to be Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and O.J. Howard. The connection that he has the least with, where he misses the most, sometimes there tends to be a little bit of miscommunication between the two. It's just not where, as a fan, I'm hoping it would be. Mm-hmm. Now, that could all be gone by next week. It could all be gone by week 1.
Sure.
It could be gone by week 4. I'm not worried about it. It's just something that I noticed that, those two guys who, O.J. Howard get 1,000 yards as a tight end this year, and maybe, it might be a stretch. I'm looking for 8 touchdowns from him. Mm-hmm. But, 10's not crazy. It's not crazy talk for him to get 10 touchdowns this year. So if you're looking for 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns from your tight end, it's just a little eyebrow raising that, their connection's just not on sort of the same level as is with Evans and Godwin.
I don't like that. I really don't.
But it's not. You got to look at it a couple ways. One, Evans and Winston's connection is like they're,
it's freaky.
They're Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite that level, but
yeah.
But they are like those guys are on the same wavelength all the time.
Sure.
Like they've thrown enough balls to each other. They get it. They absolutely get it. Godwin's quickly coming up to get into that realm.
I was going to say there was like a short period during a couple game stretch last year that I remember Godwin seemed to have a little bit of trouble catching some balls.
Oh yeah.
But for the most part, they've been spot on with each other.
Yeah. There has been, he had a couple of drops, and then he had a couple of fumbles, and then he had a couple thrown his way that ended up being intercepted that were just kind of freaky. Mm-hmm. So you were kind of like, But then you sort of look at his numbers when he was subbing in for Deshaun Jackson. It was like, okay, what did Chris Godwin do? Oh, he got 112 yards and a touchdown. And next week, what did he do? Oh, he got 102 yards and a touchdown. It was so they were there, but sort of the freak plays. They were, and Godwin does for me, for all this talk about he could be a number 1 wide receiver on another team. He's never going to come off field. He's going to get 100 catches. For that type of talk, he drops the ball too much for me. Just like Mike Evans did when he first came into the league.
We forget that. I think
how immature and droppy Mike Evans used to be.
Yeah, no, he really was. I mean, that was his. He would get up and he'd complain after every dropped ball,
or every time someone would lay a finger on him.
Yeah. And he'd always be asking for the penalty. Mm-hmm. And he did, and he had a case of the drops.
Yeah. And who was that? Monken. And then Monken came in and fixed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One year at a time.
Thanks, Todd.
All right. Well, that's the note you have really from practice. Is there anything else rolling around in your head, maybe even specifically from today with the Dolphins? Because as far as practice day, I didn't show up until kind of late. I was a little late getting there. I did show up. I did make it for the end of practice.
I did show up.
But I was there. It counts.
I've showed up for a half a day.
Yes.
So far.
Half day of work. But, was there anything specific, going against another team that jumped out at you from today that maybe you didn't have a note about?
Not really. I mean, it was a little hard to get my bearings because there's so many people there. I mean, like I sort of jested about, Warren Sapp sat in my chair. Mm-hmm. But there was just, the media room was jam-packed. Like, there wasn't enough chairs. People were sitting on the floor. Mm-hmm.
People were sitting in the hallway outside of the media room because they didn't want to be in the media room.
Yeah, so there was just people everywhere. And then they had, like, a VIP tent, and they had a friends and family tent, and then they had, like, another VIP tent. And then, and then with, 2 90-man rosters there. All 3 fields were being used almost all the time. And
2 full coaching staffs.
2 full coaching. Yeah. And it was sort of hard to look and figure out where you wanted to be as a media member in the areas that you were allowed to go see what you were trying to look at, Mm-hmm. So
Miami certainly sent up a full media contingent as well.
Oh, yeah. They were.
I mean, everybody.
Yeah. So I ended up watching a lot of our number 1 offense against their number 1 defense. Mm-hmm. I think tomorrow it'd be a really good idea if we split up and like either I think you should go watch the defense because I know how crushed you were about the Steelers game. I think you should go watch our defense against their number 1 offense, and I'll stick with the Bucs offense against Dolphins number 1 defense.
More Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, and then about an hour before practice ended, lightning struck, so everyone had to go inside, and so it was. So as far as what anything stood out, by the time I understood what was going on and how the practice was being held, it was like over.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But tomorrow I'll understand, like, okay, this is when the receivers from our team are going to go against their DBs.
Right.
And I know where that's going to be, and I know when it's going to happen. Okay, I know when our offensive line is going to go up their defensive line. I know when their defensive line is going to go up our offensive line. So, it's going to be a lot.
You literally just said the same thing, just backwards.
I know. Yeah. So, I kind of thought the practice was sort of 50-50.
Yeah.
But all I really watched was our offense. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Yeah.
And when you're doing 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s where there's no hitting and you can't sack the quarterback, and the whistle, sometimes they blow whistle sacks because the refs are out there, but it tends to be a little later than normal because they're not going to get hit anyway. So you don't really know if he would have got the pass off or not, and things like that. So I thought the Bucs offense had a good day.
There was one play specifically though where I saw Jameis get intercepted, and it was a pick six. Yeah. I mean, and it was in the end zone, like right in front of our faces, right? But I remember watching it going, okay, if that was a real live game situation, it was close enough to the goal line. I mean, because they were on like the 5-yard line. Like it wasn't very far out, right? Probably intercepted it right around the 10 or so, somewhere around there. It probably could have been a legit pick six in a game. But in here, like as soon as the guy caught the ball, like everybody just let him go.
Oh,
like, nobody chased him down. Nobody was trying to.
They might even have blown the whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as he picked it off and took 2 steps.
Yeah.
They might have been blowing the whistle.
So there's a little bit there. And I was able to come to training camp one day last week.
Oh,
and
that's
then even this this particular one, and from what I'm hearing, practice isn't a game. I mean, they do get into some game situations, but this isn't a game. Like they're trying specific things that they're going for and what they're looking at, and it didn't bug me as much. I know people out there who are, oh, Jameis threw a pick six, and send that whole thing. It just didn't bug me that much. Maybe I've become numb to it, maybe not.
Yeah. I've seen it for 3 years.
We'll be okay. We'll still put up 35 points.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
And without being able to watch sort of like our defense against their offense, It was just sort of a 50-50 day. I would give the edge to our team, but I would give the edge to pretty much any offensive team running those types of drills, because it would have to be a really, really dominant performance by the defensive team because they're going to complete passes. And there's no surprises, could anybody cover Mike Evans? No, they couldn't.
Right.
Was Chris Godwin open? Yeah, he was. Did Tanner Hudson make a contested catch or somebody draped over him? Yeah, he did. It was, it was just, did Jameis throw a pick? Yeah, he did. Did the offensive line struggle in run blocking? Yeah, they did. It was just what you know about the team is what you saw.
Right.
But tomorrow and the very last of the RTJ's Ren Training Camp Journals.
Tomorrow's the end of training camp? Say it isn't so.
I know you must be worn out, Brent.
I am. Man, we've been out. It's been so hot, and we've been out there, and it's been hot. And,
day in and day out.
Yeah,
day
the
in
commute
and day
is killing
out.
me.
Oh, I wouldn't. Yeah, I would. That commute would kill me. So yeah, but tomorrow, we'll know more. So I guess I apologize if I get everyone hyped up at the beginning of the pod, like Bucks versus Dolphins, but it was just sort of a back and forth. They ran drills, and you can tell that it has been made very clear to these players that they're here to get in work. They're not here to show up the other team.
Right.
Right.
They're not here to fight.
Not here to fight.
They talked about that in the press
They're
conferences.
not here to sort of impose their will on the other team. They're here to get in work against someone you haven't been practicing with for the past 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're here to make each other better.
Yes.
Because guess what? You're not going against each other in the regular season, so make each other better and, whatever.
Fitzy was there. He looked the same.
Fitzy was there, yeah. Yeah, we got to talk to him in the press conference after that unfortunately you had to leave for.
Yep. I had one of the, as they say in the business, as something else to do.
That's the technical term for it.
That's the technical term.
But yeah, Fitzy talked. He came into the press conference and he talks about how coming into the, coming back and, he was just here for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He's like, it's a little weird, it's a little out there, but it was real fun to get to say hi to some people and bump into some people. And he still had some people he wanted to say hi to. And
I left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. He was looking for you, Ren. He was looking for you. But I think actually my favorite quote from the press conferences came out of Josh Rosen's mouth.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was both Josh Rosen and Ryan Fitzpatrick in their press conference. And he's referring to the competition between him and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Fitzpatrick, he's been helping me and he's been teaching me and he's probably the greatest quarterback mentor I've ever had. But when it comes to the competition for the starting role, he's going to work his balls off.
You just wanted to say balls.
I did. And then he immediately goes, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Josh Rosen.
Now, that was a great move by Miami. I mean, not the Fitzpatrick with the Rosen. I mean, that was...
Oh, yeah. And, Fitzpatrick went there trying to get a starting job, and then as soon as they traded for him, he's like, ugh.
Oh, yeah, because he's going to have a 5-year career and go to 3 Super Bowls as a 37-year-old quarterback for the Dolphins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
don't worry, Josh. Just give it 4 weeks. You'll be starting.
Right. Oh man, I mean that's really practice. I don't know. Yeah, we could do that. So Ren, a little bit of housekeeping, I guess, before we get out of here today.
Housekeeping? How dare you minimalize this? How dare you, sir?
Oh, okay. I think we have a few announcements to make.
There you go.
Is that major announcements? We announced on, what was it, the Instant Cast, I believe it was, or maybe it was one of the last Training Camp Journals.
Whatever.
Talking about this would be the 4th annual Pewtercast Fantasy Football League.
Yes.
And we said, email us in, and we had... we sold out, quote unquote. We filled up
at $500 a pop
within 2 hours.
Yeah.
And the second league was filled within 3 hours after that.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of emails in, more than the leagues that we could.
We have quite a standby this
we
year.
We do. So
we're going to have to figure something out next year.
Everybody gets 3 leagues. I don't know.
Well, Well, I don't know. Like we do. We got to figure out something next year because there's a lot of people that that took the time to email us and want to play fantasy football with us, but we just can't.
There's only so many spaces.
This is going
to be the final 12
for
each team.
We're not running 5 leagues.
Right. So we're going to go through. We've looked at the emails and we've split them up between the two of us.
Yes.
In
which the order they came in.
Yes. And just to be fair, to be quite honest.
Yes.
And if you don't, if you're not in one of these leagues and you sent us in an email, don't lose heart because sometimes people don't claim their team.
It's true.
So if you're one of these people and we send you out the invite and you don't claim the team in a reasonable amount of time,
6 minutes.
Yes, exactly. So be on the lookout. Those of you guys that are in standby, we could still be contacting you. Because I think we came up against this last year. There was a couple people that never claimed a team, and we had to find somebody to fill them last minute. Yeah. So we've got enough people in standby who want to play. We're going to make sure the people who want to play. So we're doing it again. We have 2 leagues this year. Mm-hmm. We have the RFC and the BFC. Mm-hmm. The Ren Fantasy Champs. And the Brent Fantasy Champs.
Sure. Or Ren Football Conference. Whatever.
But Ren, why don't you go ahead and read off those of our friends who will be joining you in the RFC this year.
And the RFC goes as follows in no particular order except for number 1. That would be Ren Daxt. Defending champ of both leagues and the best-looking fantasy football player out there.
No comment.
You want me to give you the rest of the guys, too?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, read out your whole list.
All right, here's other people, whatever. Filling out the league for the RFC, once again in no particular order. Number 1, we have Gilbert Ochoa. And if I mispronounce your name, it's because I'm stupid and I can't read, so don't take it personally. Number 2, Jess Klosterman. Coming in at number 3, we have Chad Delnista. Number 4, Alex Serrano. Number 5, Whit Rowland. Thank you, Whit, for having a name that I can pronounce and read. Followed up by number 6, Mager Oror. Yeah, I think he's Swedish.
I don't know. Or I think is probably how you pronounce it.
Or
yeah.
Just Oreo without the O.
The second O, yeah.
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 Sorry. Yeah, okay. So anyway, Mager, or Major, coming in at number 6. Number 7, no surprise, Chef Aaron squeezes in there. Number 8, Sean Sogan. Number 9, Jay Elmore. Number 10, Cody Creech, which I remember him. He was with me last year. And number 11, Dario Flores. So I'll be sending emails out to you guys. Talk about the RFC. The draft will take place sometime after the 3rd preseason game and before, obviously, the season kicks off. So somewhere in that 2-week window, we'll get together, and basically I'm just going to ask what days you absolutely cannot do a online draft, and then we'll just figure something out. And then I'm telling you, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, but if we just can't come to a decision, the one person who like that, sorry, I just can't do it that day, you might lose your spot. Just saying.
Or go in and preset your draft and just let it auto for you, because you can do that. You can pre-select your stuff and.
I'm not letting it be auto draft in my league.
However you want to do it, brother.
No auto drafting in my league. But anyway, congratulations to everyone for the championship, the winning league. And like I said, you'll be getting emails shortly talking about, and we'll find out when we can all get together.
That is really nice of you to congratulate the people who are going to be in my league. And for those people, for who they are, participating in the BFC this year, of course, is going to be me. I will be there. But joining me in that league is going to be a good friend of the show, Sean Lovegrove.
Boo.
And we're going to have Stephen George,
Boo.
The man with 2 first names.
Boo.
We've got Brad Cast.
Boo.
We've got Alex Castle, I think is how you say it. Maybe Cassell.
These names are all made up.
Callum Shaw.
Okay.
From Australia, I think it is.
You think so?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
I think he's called into the show before, possibly. Dimash.
Oh, yeah.
Our friend Dimash.
Yeah.
Eric Reynolds is going to be joining me. James Butterworth. No way I'm going to pronounce this one correct. Derek Schrapel.
Okay.
Or Schropel. I want to say
Joe Bucks fan, that Derek guy.
Bill Eisman, and rounding out the BFC is going to be Jonathan Leva.
All right.
Or Leva.
Leva.
I'm not sure.
Love him and Leva.
Yeah, there you go. So that is going to be it as far as the 4th annual Pewtercast Awards. And kind of the same thing, guys. We'll send out the emails. We'll send out the invites. Please make sure you claim your team, and we'll figure out a day where we can do the draft, and we'll go from there. So
you should make Jonathan name his team Love him or Leva, or kick him out.
All right, Jonathan, you heard it. Has come down from the boss. All right.
I just want everyone to know in the RFC you can make your name whatever you want. I won't kick you out, unlike Brent.
All right.
Let's get out of here.
Did you want to talk about the Ronde thing at all, or we want to save that for another show?
No, go ahead. Yeah. Let's wrap it up with any because you got to sit in the room.
Yeah.
With Ronde Barber.
Yeah. So as a surprise, I didn't know that this was happening today, but today was also Ronde Barber's press conference for his Ring of Honor induction.
Right.
And it was really cool. It was in the big room, the big auditorium. The one with the really big seats and everything.
The stage.
The one with the big stage. And I mean, listen, you guys can go out and watch the press conference and see exactly what it was. They played a video when Ronde came in that really highlighted his career. Brian Glazer got up and did an introductory thing where they really hammered home this idea that, an elite player or a Hall of Fame type player or a Ring of Honor player, they're all going to have that one play that sort of defines their career. Mm-hmm. That one play that goes back. Obviously, for Ronde, it's the pick six in the NFC Championship game in 2002 that sent us to the Super Bowl, or at least sealed our Super Bowl trip. And Ronde referenced that a few times himself in his own talk. But it was really cool because there were certainly a lot of former players. Martin Gramatica was there. Derek Brooks. Chidi Hanatu was there. Warren Sapp, as you mentioned, was there. And, of course, Warren got his moment. Even though nothing was about him.
Could have fooled Warren.
Yeah, Michael Pittman was there.
Nice.
And a couple other people, and certainly some people from Buccaneers history past, maybe former employees that showed back up.
Like ghosts and stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Red Grange?
Yes, they're coming back to tell them...
Episode 7 of Scooby-Doo, The Galloping Ghost.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but whatever.
Because you watch crappy cartoons.
Yes, we watch Paw Patrol in my house.
Oh, God.
But anyway, so I mean, the one thing, and I kind of threw this out on Twitter, and I've been having a lot of fun with it.
Okay.
Is for all of these Buccaneer legends, or at least former players, who were in the room, there was only one current player who managed to make his way over to the room.
Okay.
Ren, I'll give you a guess. And it's nobody you would think of, I don't think. Like it stood out because it was seen so random.
Gerald McCoy.
Current player.
Oh.
Current player on the Buccaneers roster.
So random.
Mm-hmm. But he was the only one who came in for this press conference.
Vernon Hargraves.
Not Vernon Hargraves.
Was I close?
No.
Give me the first number of his jersey.
Probably a 9. I'm going to go with 9.
Vivek?
No.
Golson?
No.
Sue?
No.
Miller?
No. You're in the right area, though.
Carl Nassib. Well,
Carl Nassib, yeah.
I got it. It
was Carl Nassib.
Of course. Duh.
So for all of you who've been responding on Twitter, that's exactly who it was. It was Carl Nassib who came in.
Are you sure?
Oh, positive, yeah. Like, I verified. I was like, is that Carl Nassib? Is that Carl Nassib? Yeah, it was Carl Nassib.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, so Carl Nassib was there to, watch him. Huh?
Listen,
yeah. I was actually wondering just a little bit if maybe he was dating one of the girls that was in there because he was hanging out with some of the girls. So,
you never know.
Or he was just there to respect a Buccaneer great. I don't know. But anyway, I don't know what to say or what to report on it that you really can't go see on the video on Buccaneers.com.
But I'm sure it was cool to be in there.
It was super cool to be in there. Ronde, I will tell you this about Ronde. He is really happy to have this happen to him.
Yeah, it seems sincere.
He really did. The very first words out of his mouth was, "Finally." He said, "I've been waiting for this for a really long time." And he said something to the effect of, the 16 years that he played in the league felt like nothing compared to the 7 years that he's had to wait to get inducted into the Buccaneers Ring of Honor. So, and you also really get the idea, like, between this and being in the Hall of Fame, like, these are kind of his two, like, pillars, I guess, that he's waiting on.
Yeah.
But he did. He strikes you as a guy who is both humble and very aware of his accomplishments, all at the exact same time.
All right.
So it was good. It was a good press conference. So it's a cool guy.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have talked about that.
Maybe not. You can cut that out if you want.
Nah.
It's your show.
Hey,
you're editing it, not me.
I am not above boring people to death.
Just truncate silence and we'll be good.
I still don't know what that button is. Or where it's at. I know what it does.
Yes.
I don't know where it's at.
Ren, what do we got coming up for our listeners with, this is, I guess, the penultimate episode of Rens Training Camp Journal. We'll have tomorrow's as well with that. What do we have coming up now that we've kind of reached the end a little bit here of the Training Camp Journal?
It'll be a medley.
Yeah.
It'll be a look back. Memories.
A clip show. We're going to do a clip show.
Yeah, it probably is. It's going to be something like that. Because I got a lot of sound from a lot of people that I haven't played.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've discovered the best podcast is the podcast that's more of me.
So we got a review one time that talked about Ren being a narcissist.
I don't remember
This is exactly what we're talking about.
That was my favorite review.
Yes.
You know why?
Why?
Because it was about me.
Hey, Ren, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, you could find me on the internet. Best ways on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football. And
if you want to get in touch with me, I'm at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And do we want to do the show? Let's do the show.
Yeah.
The show's at the Pewtercast on Twitter and on Facebook, and you can send us an email to thepewtercast@gmail.com. We have a handful of emails, Ren, so we might actually have one of those famous fan interaction shows coming up here soon.
Hope so.
We've got the Instant Cast coming up here through the off season. They may not always be call-in shows, so stay tuned, but we will have them. They'll be on the podcast feed. We'll also have, we'll probably do a Buck in the News show as news and stuff comes out about the team that we know and love. And we ramp into our regular season coverage.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff, by the way. I'm just going to tease this. Lots of fun stuff happening behind the scenes at the Pewtercast that we're not ready to tell y'all out there yet. But there is stuff happening.
There is.
Which is cool.
There is. There is paint being bought and sets being built.
All right.
That's not true. That is absolutely not true. You gonna get us out of here?
It's your show, bro.
Oh, don't make me. Just do it.
All right, guys. Well, that is, I guess, going to wrap it up for episode, 8 of Rens Training Camp Journal? 9? I don't know. Wherever we are in this thing. Ren, thank you for having me on your show, my friend.
Sure.
I appreciate it. And good luck with all this editing because I'm leaving now.
Yeah. Pulling a Ren.
Go Bucks.
Joy.